Welcome to the Asia Trail Girls podcast, a platform where we talk about all things trail running in and around Asia. I'm Henny Gorton, a passionate ultra runner based in Bali, Indonesia. Today, I'm excited to announce we have Jasmine on the podcast, who did the Asian edition of Big's Backyard World Champs, which was on the 17th of October. And if you were like me, then you were glued to your phones watching the live updates on Zoom around the world, as lots of different international teams were competing in this event. Big's Backyard is created by the famous Lazarus Lake, the creator of Barkley Marathons, that hosts it every year in the USA. However, due to COVID, he decided to do a virtual format. Now, Big's Backyard is a very unusual event as there is no ending. It is a 6.7 kilometer loop that the runners have to do every hour on the hour. And the winner is the last runner standing. Jasmine was in the Singapore team who got into the final three, completing 29 loops, so 29 hours, and she was the last female standing. So I'm so excited to have her on the podcast today to tell us all about this event and her background. She's an amazing runner with incredible running achievements who has competed representing Singapore in the marathon at the Asia Sea Games in 2017. Not only this, but she also came fourth in that event. Stay tuned to hear all about the amazing, inspirational female. I also have Veronica back on the podcast with me today because she was so excited to hear all about Jasmine and this event. And other exciting news for you, this podcast is brought to you by T8, Asia's favorite trail running brand with performance gear that is built ultra light for Asia's hot and humid conditions. Go to their website, t8.run, and save 10% with our special discount code ATG10, just for Asia Trail Girls podcast listeners. I hope you enjoy this episode. Let's begin. So guys, welcome back Veronica and welcome Jasmine to the Asia Trail Girls podcast. We are so excited to have you on today. And first of all, can you just introduce yourself a bit to us? I mean, I've previously introduced you to everyone, but it would be great to just hear a bit about you before we dive in and hear all about your amazing recent achievement, which I'm dying to hear about.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Jasmine. So a little about myself. I'm 41 this year. I have two girls. I'm a single mom. I also run for Singapore. I did the 2017 Sea Games for the marathon. Came in fourth. But my first love is still the ultras. I still love to do my ultra trails and love inspiring girls. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. And so it's been 2 weeks. Has it been 2 weeks since your race? Yeah. How are you feeling and how is the recovery going?
You know, when I first got the news that, of the race and that I would be invited, I guess, to this race. And I was like, who on earth run this kind of format, right? It's just unbelievable. But having done that is like, it's awesome. And so the past 2 weeks, so unfortunately, I had a minor injury. I would say minor because it's quite okay now. But I suspect I had a stress fracture of my foot, and I had to stop because it was just impossible to bear any weight on the foot. So I stopped at the 29th hour, and since then, I've been resting, putting my leg up, and I can walk now. So that's great. I mean, recovery is really, really good. And I'm going to see the doctor again end of this week to review. Yeah. I think it's coming third week, maybe.
Okay, great. And so you were the last female in the Singaporean team. Well, I mean, I say last, but that makes you the winning female, I guess, as you were the female that went the furthest and you were in the last three.
Yes.
And can you tell us about your thoughts on the event and how you thought it went on the day?
So, so back to when I first got the format, and I was like, I'm not sure if I want to do this kind of race, because you kind of warm up your engine, you go for a loop, and then you come back and you have to rest because it's mandatory. You cannot go out again until the start of the other hour. And you're like, who in the hell would want to do something like that? And apparently I did, and so did the other 14 of us. Um, and I think we had a lot of fun because, the race really doesn't start until you're like the last two. Anyway, I always think in between is more like a group run. So you're kind of like, you head out together and you come back together. It's just like a group run with very nice people. I mean, all 15 of us are really nice, cool people to hang out with. And I get to hang out with them for like 20 odd hours. I think it's really, really good. I think the only planning was, okay, so let me see. How am I going to do this? Let me answer the logistics. Like, you have to plan for 4 days or 3 days worth of running, right? So I think a lot of us showed up with like a lot of food and drinks to last us for days. It was crazy. I think it's a really massive project, at least for me. Because when we are doing trails, it's like you would just consider eating at the checkpoints.
Yeah.
But now it's like you have to plan for all your nutrition, your water. They don't even provide water, so we had to bring our own water. So yeah, the logistic was a nightmare. Just trying to think about what you need for 3 days, nutrition wise, food wise, and then other crew. I had to. So we had like I wouldn't say a crew meeting, but we kind of know. I shared with my crew that we're working as a team. So I'm the legs of the team, but they are everything else, right?
Yeah.
So we work as a team, and if I do win, the golden ticket is for the three of us. In that sense, it was always a teamwork. I never felt like I was the runner that they were trying to please, or work for, but it was always like a team. So I felt like I was the F1 car that came into the pit stop, and then they had to like fix me up within the 10 minutes that we had. And I think my crew earlier on came into a very nice, comfortable schedule, a routine, I would say routine. So when I come in, they were like, okay, first they have to prop me up, prop my legs up, put me, I'll be lying on the mattress, like a small mattress. And then I get all comfortable, start, drinking like a baby, lying down. And then they would do all the massage that you need to do for like 5 minutes. And then next 5 minutes will be changing some gears like socks and shoes. And I think the first night it was really, really humid. So I basically changed shoes and socks every round. So that kind of took some time off my so-called rest. So I didn't really, it's quite chaotic actually. But then it went into a comfortable routine where I know I come in, I'll lie down and start eating and drinking like a baby on a mattress, and they'll be like doing some massages. And if I do need to sleep, I'll tell the crew, or I'll run a little faster that round so that I'll come back in slightly earlier so that I have more time. And I'll say, I feel really sleepy, give me 5 minutes. And they will really give me 5 minutes to just rest, like complete rest.
Wow. And before you went into this, did you have a schedule or a plan? So you had in your mind, okay, I'm going to run every loop in about 50 minutes. So for those of you that don't know, so the loop is 6.7 kilometers, right?
Yeah.
So did you have a plan? Like, okay, every loop I'm going to do it in 50 minutes. And like you say, if you needed more sleep, then you would do it earlier. And I also love, just to mention, on your Instagram that this amazing picture of you lay down sometimes or stood up with all your labels of the loops that you've done. And I was amazed because in every one you're like stood up smiling, apart from like one towards the end that you're laid down and you actually visually look tired. But apart from that, all of them, you're like smiling and you've had time to do this. It was a really cool photo. Tell us
Yeah.
about the schedule.
Yes. I did tell the crew that there's one thing that I need them to do, which is every loop when I come back, they have to take a picture of me. I think it's also so that, when we think back, you cannot have something to remember the whole journey and to document how you look, like just coming back every loop. And I of course, I made an effort to just smile and for the camera because I wanted to look good, right? And my crew did a little card that you saw, and then they could change the number of loops, just changing the numbers. Yeah, so it's like what do you call it? Like a place card or something?
Yeah, placards.
Yeah, placard. Okay. Yeah. And then you could change the numbers so you can so it's like nicely done. I mean, I have to give credit to my crew. They're so nice. I give suggestion and I'm like, okay, you guys do it because that's not my problem, right? My problem is just drive the car out and then come back and then you guys settle the rest. So that was the idea behind the whole picture thing. What was the other question?
About your scheduling. So did you plan to do every loop at 50 minutes?
Yes. I did so we did a recce one time with one of the crew. So he cycled and I did the strategy. So I wanted to do like a 50-minute loop. Yeah, I thought about it. I think that would be a comfortable number. And the strategy for me was to incorporate walking into my running. So I had like a run walk routine. And I held on to that from the first loop on. I never really ran throughout. It was always a run walk. My watch would tell me when to run and my watch would tell me when to walk. It got to a point where some guys were running with me and then I said, oh sorry, I have to walk now, and they'd be like, why? It's still earlier on in the race, right? But I think progressively, loop after loop, I settled into a nice pace of running and walking. So even though I was doing the same thing, I was coming back faster. So then I think eventually I settled to a 48-minute loop. Like it was pretty consistent. My coach was saying that I was very consistent in my timing. So I remember coming back always 46, 48, not 50 anymore. I think the last 50 I did was maybe the last loop, which is 51, because I couldn't run, I couldn't walk. I literally wanted to crawl, so that I could take some, just load off the foot. But yeah, I managed to come back 51. And that was when I knew that I couldn't last another round. Or even if I could, it would have done more damage than anything else.
Yeah. Wow. So you never struggled to make the loop. You hear about it often, and people are like, oh, I had to pull out because I didn't make the loop back in the hour. But you never had any struggles like that. Oh wow.
No. Yeah. In fact, the last loop that I did, I was not the last either. So I was really contemplating if I could just pop a painkiller and go out again, because it was like I really wanted this. But it's a risk, right? And I was just weighing the pros and cons and thinking if I pop a painkiller, I could, walk the loop and then make it just under an hour if I could. But the worst thing would be then to be stuck out there with a broken foot and not being able to come back at all. And then the 30th loop wouldn't count, right? Or you have to get an ambulance for me. So it's just not worth it. And I knew that the last two boys, they're at least gonna last 30 something.
Yeah.
So what's the point, right? If I'm gonna be third 29 or third 30th, it's not gonna make a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. And despite your ankle injury, because that sounds like it was kind of really the main factor and the only factor that stopped you, do you think you could have gone further, or had you reached your limit physically and mentally?
No. I think I was actually getting faster and faster even during the night because I must say, and I give credit to the way this race is ran, because the format requires that you have mandatory rest and refueling. I mean, if you've done any ultra before, you know that our refueling strategy sometimes is like at the checkpoint. And it could be, say, 2-3 hours away or 20-30 kilometers away. And by then it could be too late. right? You feel you hit the wall and you're not able to go on. But this one is a manageable distance, it's only 6.7, and then you have to stop. And for that 10 minutes, what you do during the rest is very, very important. And I think my crew and I, we had the sweet spot where we have adequate rest, and the massage really helped to do the flushing. So I actually feel that I had some fresh legs, going in some of the loops and then feeling very, very good. Yeah. So, and I think it has made me realize that, it could be something that I want to think about for future races. Yeah, even though we don't stop, but then I know that then it's a good format to kind of eat and drink every hour, then to, just run the race and then wait until the next checkpoint. And then you have your just screwing up the nutrition, which is so, so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really interested to know more about this format because
Yeah.
it sounds like it really worked for you. And I entered a race this year, but it unfortunately got cancelled due to COVID. And it was a similar format, definitely nothing as crazy, but it had this, you run every hour, you have a break, and you run again. And when I was training for it, I thought, oh, great, you have a break. But it was so much harder than I ever expected because it's hard to sit down and rest and then go again when I'm used to just running consistently. So, yeah, how did you find this format and how did you kind of make this work to your advantage?
Um, and I don't know. I mean, obviously I don't race like that, right? And I've never entered a race similar to this. But the fortunate thing for me was during COVID or just prior to COVID, I was just gathering some runners and trying to bring them around Singapore to explore some trails. So I started a little club, and then and I will bring runners around Singapore to explore different trails. And of course, COVID lockdown, it didn't happen. And with the easing, we started again. And because of just the capability of the runners are so diverse. I mean, some can really run throughout, some couldn't. I was doing a lot of start stop. You know what I mean? Like I would designate a certain point as a meeting point, and then everybody will run there, and then they have to rest until we all catch up. And I was doing a lot of like sweeping. I was running to the back and hanging out with the guys at the back, and then I'll go to the front and give instructions to the leaders. And so I think because of that, a lot of start and stop and really spending a lot of time on the feet, but not so much proper running. So that helped. So I'm not too afraid of like running and then stopping or running fast and then stopping, because it's I guess just that process helped me to um, to realize that it's not something that I cannot do. And I think, like I said, what helped was that when I rest, it was really resting. It was not just sitting there and talking to my crew. It was really like I knew I had a purpose, and that rest was for me to refuel. So um, the strategy was to, in that 10 minutes, consume 100 calories at least, consume at least 400 to 500 mg of sodium, and 20, I would say 23, 24 ounces of water, which is like maybe 700 ml. And I think that worked because I also I made a point to like pee every round. And I didn't pee at the start line, but there were like so many toilets along East Coast anyway. So I made it a point to like pee during running. So, one of my walk time, I could use it for the toilet breaks. So I think because of that, it's like my body could adapt to just a constant pounding of maybe 40. I wouldn't even say that it's tough, because like I said, I incorporated walking into it. So it was really just like run, walk, slow runs, and then with a little bit of stop in between the 10 minutes where I knew there was a purpose. So I wasn't really thinking too much about, I'm have to start again or stop again. And plus, at the start line, your heart really pounds. It's quite exciting in a sense because there's countdown. Like you get to know that it's last 3 minutes, last 2 minutes, and you're like, oh my God, I got to get this in my mouth. I've got to like eat my gel. I've got to like have my drink. And then everybody's like just scrambling to like get their gears ready so that they can be at the start line for that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it was I don't know, heart pounding. It's not like, oh, everybody's dragging their feet to the start line. So I think, yeah, that a little adrenaline also keeps you going. Yeah. So at no point you're like feeling like you're starting and stopping. It was more like go to a pit stop, get stuff done, and then head out again. Yeah. It's not like, like the champion, he did 40 minutes. So he had a good 20 minutes to rest. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had he said he slept every like 10 minutes every loop, which is great. I remember sleeping 3 minutes and I felt like I slept the whole day. It's really good. I mean, the power of power naps is crazy.
So sorry, I'm just gonna ask a quick question about, you mentioned your crew so much. I'm sure like they're a big part of your achievement. So who is your crew? I'm really dying to know.
Yeah. So one of the crew, so two that I have three crew members. One is my sister, right? So it's like I knew that I could depend on her if anything else, right? She did the day shift. So we had like a day shift and a night shift. And then the night shift was done by Andrew, and Andrew is one of the runners in my club, and I picked him because he's a really good ultra runner in the sense that he did a self-navigated, self-sufficient run on his own for 24 hours. Yeah, just with a bag and just get out there and run for 24 hours. And I told him that he's the best candidate because if I look at him and I don't last 24 hours, I'll feel bad. So I said, I have to at least do 24 hours because if not, then I'll lose to him. Yeah, I said, you got to kick my ass if I do less than 24. So that was that. Yeah. And then I have one more. He is my kind of like he's like a pain specialist, like a physio and all that. So he was supposed to come every 24 hours in a sense to check on me and just do some needling if he has to, or maneuver to work out some kinks and all that. So he did come on the 23rd hour. And by then, actually, I felt some pain already in the foot. So there was like one of the loops on the 17th hour. I felt a pain in the foot, and it's that exact pain that I think escalated into a fracture. But I think prior to that, it could be just something was off. He came on the 23rd hour to fix that. And to be honest, I felt so good. I was the first one that came back on the 24th loop because I was like, oh yeah, he got it fixed. And then of course after that, I think it kind of went downhill slowly. And I could feel progressively the ache then became a pain again. But nevertheless, I mean, he allowed me to last another 5 hours, and I'm grateful. Yeah. So I think I had like almost the best crew.
It sounds like it.
I did. Yes. Yes. And it was also him, Eldrin, the pain specialist who made the crew, the other two crew, massage me every hour. He's like, okay, you've got to do this, you got to do the flushing. He taught them the steps and the maneuvers and all that. So I really enjoyed the whole race because I didn't feel at any point in time that I was the only one. I really felt that it was a team. Like I was really the one in the F1 car coming back. And they fix up the car. I don't care. I just drink petrol. Oh yeah, I had my gel and my drinks, and they're like, okay, you're ready to go. So they were all very mindful of the time, and it was like clockwork. I mean, we had I think I saw like a alarm clock or something, and it will go beep when we pass the, we put like, okay, we got to do 3 minutes on this, 3 minutes on that. And they did laundry for me. They washed my shoe, they washed my socks, and I had like little socks hanging. I know. It turned out like a little house, I had like socks hanging above me.
I think this needs to be their new job. They sound amazing. We need to know where we can hire them.
Yeah. They're not for sale. I've choked them. I mean, I
They're
definitely want
mine.
them back. I definitely want them back. I said, if I'm doing this again, you guys gonna be my crew again. Yeah, because it's I think it's also important that you have a good chemistry with your crew. Like you are able to tell them what to do and they really follow. Um, because I've seen other crew members, and obviously I'm not there for long and I'm not paying attention, but like my crew would tell them like they are the busiest. They are the busiest because they kept doing something. They were always doing something. In fact, they forget to eat because they're just full of, just thinking about what they can do for me. They were cooking for me. We had like mashed potatoes and soup and all that. So one of my idea was that I didn't want to consume real food at night, because I think that digestive system will have to have a break in that sense if you're running for days. And so I really wanted to make it look like breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then you don't eat through the night. So I just consume gel so that it's just easier on the tummy and you don't have to process too much. But during the day, it was like you have to tell the body, okay, it's time to wake up. This is the day. You're going to have your breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I was like running back and it's like, what am I eating now? And then the crew was saying, yeah, we're going to get you excited. We're going to have a very, very good menu for you. So I had like, I have lots of stuff on the menu, like pancakes and mashed potatoes and soup and my favorite buns. Yeah.
It sounds like
And
you had the best time ever. Like
I did.
I thought it was going to be like, yeah, it was so hard. I didn't think I was going to make it. Like you were going to be crawling, and it's like, yeah.
Oh.
What was next?
I'm like, yeah, let's go. Okay, what am I eating? What am I eating? And then they'll be like taking off my socks, massaging me, and I'm just sitting there eating, and I'm just talking to them. And it was so professional. They were like, they had this checklist where they had to ask me questions like, how are you feeling? Is there anything we can fix? Do you need a change of gear? And we have that documented every loop. There's a little file that I can now refer to, and they would tell me how, and it would tell me like what time I come back, how much I consume, what did I eat that loop, so that going back, then we can see what worked and what didn't work for me, and then we can improve. So that's how professional my crew is. See?
Yeah, they sound really professional. The whole thing sounds so efficient.
Yeah, and which is why it's always such a joy to just go back and see their faces. It is. And if anything, I really wanted to do more just so that I could have them experience it on a longer basis in that sense. Like, just 3 of us hanging out for more days. Yeah.
Sure. And you've kind of answered my next question, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but would you do it again?
Oh, hell yes. We are like, we're gonna do this. We want to win this.
So
I'm gonna bring an iron foot though.
Yeah, true. So going into thinking about next time, what would you do differently, and how do you have expectations for the next one? Like, how far do you think you could realistically go?
I think I could go last 2 or last. I seriously think I have a lot in the tank left. Yes, we do feel fatigue. It's just normal. And I think it's also because it's heading nighttime. When I finished, it was like 1 a.m. But it is almost the second night without sleep. And I think, unfortunately, Singapore, we start 8 p.m. So that's kind of like you already wasted a day instead of waking up fresh in the morning. If you start at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m., you would have like a good rest the day before. So I think it's like heading into like almost second day without sleep. It did take a little toll. Like I could feel that I was at some point wanted to close my eyes and sleep. And I was eyeing every bench, I swear, at East Coast and thinking, maybe I should lie down here for a while. Maybe I should just sleep here for a while. Do you think anybody will wake me up, or like the runners will just pass me and let Jasmine sleep? So I was thinking like, oh, maybe I should sleep in the toilet. Because then, I just like when I was peeing, I said, maybe I should just sit down here for a while, close my eyes and doze off. But I just didn't do that. I did go back and say, okay, crew, I need to sleep. they would say, okay, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. And then I had like the best 3 minutes of sleep in my life. Really. So yeah, I think, yeah. Okay. What's the question again? Oops. Went on.
Yeah, it was like, what would you do differently for?
Oh, what would I do differently? Actually, I wouldn't do anything differently. I may, let me see. No, I think everything actually went pretty well. Okay, maybe this is one more thing. I think I chose not the wrong shoe, but I think because we are pounding concrete, then a good choice would be maybe a more cushioned shoe. Yeah, I believe the fracture is from the constant pounding, and it didn't help that I kind of wear like one of the races. Yeah. It would be better if I chose a thicker shoe. Like I think Abi, he chose like a relatively thicker shoe, so it's more cushiony. I think that would protect the joints better. So it really depends on the route next time. And this route, I think we had the staircase from the overhead bridge and the underpass and all that. So, I mean, one loop doesn't matter, but if you're doing 30, 40, 50 loops, like the stairs could affect you. So yeah, maybe that. But yeah, I think it's a shoe. Gotta choose a shoe that's more cushion. At least for Singapore, if we're gonna run on concrete.
Great. And obviously the winning guy, he got 229 kilometers. Was that correct?
I think more than that. He did 34 loops.
34 loops. I think it was
I think 250. Was it?
Okay, maybe more. Despite your ankle, do you think you could have got past that? It sounds to me like you definitely could have.
For sure. 5 more loops is not going to be an issue if my foot was all right. I think, and I know that because I could assess, I mean, I was constantly self-aware. Like, I think that's important for all ultra runners, to be constantly aware of what our body is capable of, and reassess every time we something happens, whether it's our consumption, how we feeling, are we feeling dehydration or are we feeling fatigue? Because sometimes when we're running trails, we are just out there alone. So it's really, really important to be mindful of your body and how you're feeling, and to assess how much longer you can go. And I think, and definitely at that point in time, I felt good. I mean, other than the pain, and I told you, right, my strategy was to run, walk, and I really did that all the way until I got to a point where I couldn't walk anymore. And it's funny because I could run, but I couldn't walk anymore, because walking means complete weight on the foot. But running is kind of like you skip over. So I could run awkwardly, but I could run. Like I was more on the ball of the feet and on the toes. So I was doing this little like skipping versus say walking. So I actually stopped the run walk strategy the last maybe 3 loops. I realized that I couldn't walk. So what's the point of doing a run walk? So I just literally ran all the way, or jog all the way, whatever, just kept moving all the way because I couldn't stop at all.
And it sounds like a smart decision, because obviously if you had kept going, maybe you would need an operation, your recovery could be really, really long. So Correct. It sounds like it was definitely a smart thing to do.
Yes.
And congratulations, what an amazing feat. It's so inspiring to hear about it. And let's backtrack a bit, because I want to get into kind of your past achievements, because you've had some, before this, incredible achievements. You've won lots of road marathons. Veronica and I were just talking before, like, you've got some amazing times. We were like, wow, she's really quick. Like you said before, you represented Singapore for the SEA Games in 2017, and I didn't realize that you came fourth. Did you say you came fourth? Which is incredible. What would you say is your biggest achievement so far?
I would have to say to toe the line for Singapore. I think that would be like career best, maybe not the best timing I did in a race, but still, just wearing the Singapore flag and knowing that I had to give up so much to toe the line. Yeah, I think that is like the best moment of my life. Yeah, just standing there, hearing your name being called out, representing my country. Yeah, it's like a dream come true, because I really never thought. I mean, when I started running in 2011, it was really just to lose some weight and to get active. And like most girls, right? Sometimes when we feel lethargic, we just want to get something moving, that we decided to just start running or go to the gym. And that's what I did. I started running because my girls were going to school. And I thought, yeah, stay home mom, I'm going to go to work and I couldn't fit into my clothes anymore. I think I need to run. And I remember just running the first time 2 kilometers, and I was like just swearing at myself, telling myself it's just a bad idea. But I saw a road show for the Standard Chartered Marathon, and that was like in August 2011. And then I said, okay, I could sign up a race just to keep the desire going, right? I mean, sometimes if we just run without a goal, and I think a lot of us are feeling that right now during COVID, there's no races. It's like, why do I want to run? There's no purpose. So I reckon that if I have a race, that would motivate me to keep running, or at least put on my shoes and go out there and clock some miles. So I decided to show up at the roadshow and say, okay, I want to pick like a distance to run. And I look at 5, 10, 21, and I was like, I can do 42, I think. I've never done anything more than 10 in my life at that point in time. And to me, 42 is like something that you want to shoot for, even if I have to walk. And then I remember it was August, and to me it was like, okay, I have 4 months to do like 10K every month. It's that kind of going in quite naive and not knowing what it requires, what kind of training it requires, because to you it's just a mathematical solution equation, 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, and you get your 42. So then I signed up for like 42, and I realized, holy shit, I got to do a lot of stuff. Like increase 10% every week, and then you got to do your last long run and all that. So then I got into like a running program, who was, and my personal trainer was actually my colleague who stepped up and helped me with this journey, because he was also doing his marathon. He said we could train together. And we only trained twice a week for 4 months. And it got me to my first marathon, and then I was hooked. And then I was asking him, so what's next, I did 42. I could do 80. I know, right? It's just like kind of going in very fresh and not knowing. Not knowing. I mean, just not really familiar with all this training and all that. Just very, yeah, like I said, naive. But then again, I think when you go in naive and fearless, that's really how you be extraordinary. Because sometimes we overthink it, right? When you know too much, that's when you really like, oh, I can't do this. Like if I think too much, I would think that my last race, or the longest race I ever did, is 100K. How can I run 100 mile in 24 hours? It doesn't sound logical. How can I run 200K ever in my life? And that's what I did. Because I think one of my philosophy in life is that you have to show up as if you cannot lose. Just show up, because if you show up, you cannot lose. You are a winner no matter what. Yeah. So I think that with that kind of just that fearless attitude, that's how I went into ultra running. Because I was like, okay, I've done a marathon, so I'm gonna do like, what's the next longest distance I can do? And I'm not sure if you know and aware that there's this race at the end of the year called the MR25 Ultra. So there is a little trail in a reservoir. It's about 10.5K, one loop.
In Singapore.
That's right. Yeah, in Singapore. I mean, I've really never considered going too far to race. I mean, I was still like a newbie in running, and I just finished my first marathon, and I just wanted to know what's next. So my friend just said, it's the end of the year, and there's one race at the end of the year where everybody goes 12 hours in McRitchie, and you try to run as many loops as you can, and each loop is 10.5. So I was like, okay, I can do that. I can do that. And then I did like 7 loops, which is about 70K. Yeah. I got, I think, 6th position. I got a little prize, and then I was like, okay, what's next? I'm going for 100K. And then, which is what I did. I did Vibram 100K, Hong Kong 100K in December. Oh no, in February. So that was like, if you follow the journey, it's almost 6 months from the day I start running to my 100K. So it's from 0 to 100K in 6 months. Yeah.
Crazy. And actually, it really reminds me of myself as well. Because once you get the passion for something and you sort of get the addiction, and then you always think as soon as you finish, well, maybe
Yes.
one day later, first you're like, okay, done. And then, okay, what's the next one? And you really want to see like how much you can do, right?
Yes, yes. And I think that's because, like I said, it's very early on in the journey where you are fearless. You know, you have never tried it, and it's something that you want to try just for the experience, not so much I want to go win. But now I approach it differently because I know that, you know, it's not just showing up, but you have to train quite smartly if you want to win. And then, of course, there's the other aspects of nutrition and all that. I mean, prior to that, when I did my 70K and 100K and my marathon, I never thought about gel or refueling or hydration. You just go, I won't die. I believe I'm just gonna finish it, right? So now a lot of thoughts go into my race and planning, but never, I mean, previously was just I'm just gonna sign up first and then we talk later.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important note for people to remember and think about, because it's probably the same for all of us. Like, yeah, you sign up for your first races and you run and like, yeah, you complete it, but it's a huge struggle. And I think that's always like, well, it certainly was for me, the turning point is when you start thinking about those little things like strength training, nutrition, like those are huge things. And that really took me from kind of the person that was kind of managed to finish a race, but you know, semi-dying whilst I did it, to okay, actually doing well. And nutrition and definitely strength training is a huge part of that.
Yes, yes, I agree. Strength training is really underrated for runners.
Yeah.
And I think that's because we think that we got to spend so much time running that we just don't have any other time to do other stuff. But I would recommend that if you can take 1 or 2 days out of your running schedule to do proper strength training, and I do mean proper, not going to the gym and just lifting some weights, but to lift relatively heavy weights, then you're gonna be a really good climber, or you know, you're just gonna save your legs for all the downhill runs, because you really need to pack some muscles. Otherwise, your joints going to suffer. Yeah. Yeah, and I've been there, done that, because for my SEA Games, I actually entered the race with an injury. I had shin splint and a torn tendon. So I was managing all that while training and racing even. So I think that's something that you don't wish upon anybody. And I wish I knew better. Like, I wish I had incorporated really proper strength training into my training regime. Unfortunately, the runner, or rather the coach that I had previously, didn't really do a lot of that. It was a lot of speed work and intervals, and yeah, it got my speed up there. I mean, like, I did really one of my, I would say, career best marathon in Hong Kong, 2:54. I'm not even sure if I can replicate that again. But why would I want to run a 2:54 and then come up with a torn tendon if I could, you know, just do slightly slower, but survived and then not have so much downtime? It just didn't make sense. So I would strongly recommend strength training. And I think for girls who are afraid to go to the gym to carry heavy weights, we shouldn't do that. I mean, our body can adapt and get stronger. And so I do lift relatively heavy weights. And you don't have to spend a lot of time. Like, I spend maybe 45 minutes to an hour in a gym, just doing some really good squats and deadlifts and lunges. And I think that should be in every runner's training program.
Great. And let's talk about running for females, because running is a new popular sport for a lot of women in Asia. Have you faced any problems being a female runner in a very male-dominated sport?
My understanding is that when a male see me, they are scared. I mean, just those that knows me, lah, of course, because sometimes when I show up, they're like, "Oh, Jasmine is here," and I have friends who would joke like, they would, because guys, they tend to go out so fast in the beginning, but I know my strength is long distance, and I know somehow I'm able to catch up with them in the second half of the race. Even in the marathon, it'll be like 30, I'll see some of the boys. And when they and sometimes I call out to them, I'll call their name, I'll just ask if they're okay. And they sometimes tell me that they feel that the soul has left them when they hear my sound, my voice just coming. And they're like, oh my God, Jasmine is behind. So yeah, there's this joke going on that I always catch up with them in the second half. And I think that's my strategy. Like, I really like to go just slower. And to me, a negative split would be so much better than a positive split. Yeah, just finishing stronger feels so much better, and rather than dying, right? So it's a matter of just being consistent and disciplined to stick to your race strategy. And I think a lot of people, because when you're at the start line with so many fast runners, you just want to go out there hard with them, and then you suffer in the second half. So I'm not like that. I tend to go just slower in the beginning, and then get faster. And I think my coach did tell me before, like the first 2K is really just warm up. So to me, I'll look at my watch and go, okay, I've passed the warm up, so it's time to race. So like for me, the first 2K is really just to get the system going. Because sometimes, we spend quite a fair bit of time standing at the start line. I'm not sure about you, but if in a very popular race, you may end up just standing 30 minutes, not doing anything. Yeah. So the last thing you want is to go out fast and pull a muscle, or, get the lactic build up so much that, you can't do a proper race at the end part of the race. So yeah, so the strategy was always first 2K is just warm up. So I'm pretty disciplined in that part. And I think it is important. It doesn't matter where you're racing. I mean, I don't see myself, unfortunately, as a female when I race. So in an ultra, like if I see a guy in front of me, I would want to chase the guy, because you always use everyone as a moving target to help you propel and go faster. So, and sometimes it's hard to see people in an ultra, especially if it's a long day out there and you see nobody. So it's like, oh, okay, I can see a guy. I don't care if it's a guy or girl. I would try to like latch on and let that person be a rabbit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right. It's just nice to see people and say, oh, I caught up with somebody, or, at least you're heading the right direction, because some of the races, the marking is not fantastic. But yeah, I don't see myself as a female. So when I run or when I race, it's especially for an ultra, it's just actually it's more myself. Like I just want to do well for myself. And I think for females, another thing I would suggest is nutrition. Like we don't pack muscles, I think, as fast as boys. And it's very important that I think there's a book or somebody, there's a nutritionist or a doctor that says we don't eat like small men, because we've got our own system going on, right? Our body maybe reacts differently, or have this we have cycles every month. So it's important to figure out what works for females. And I think she has a really good book on that. So I think it's important for females especially to have really good nutrition, protein, so that we can pack on muscles. Yeah. So I've been on so just some protein powder to make sure that my recovery is in place. And yeah, I think that would help with injury also.
Great. And you aren't only a runner, you have 2 children and you also have a job, and you said you're a single mum. How on earth do you manage to balance it? Because your training schedule must be full on, as well as your life as a mother and a worker. How do you manage it all?
Yeah, I think it's really managing the kids' expectation. I think they grew up knowing that, okay, this mommy is an overachiever when it comes to running. Like there's so many things she wants to do and she wants to do well. So I did tell them like, okay, today's a gym day, today's my run day, and actually every day is a run day almost. So and sometimes if I don't run, they actually ask me, are you heading up for a run? Do you have a run today, And I'm like, oops, I got caught. So they are keeping tabs. And I think why I'm passionate about this is because this is like a very ordinary sport. I mean, if you think about running, it's just running. But it allows me to do some extraordinary stuff, right? Whether as a female or as a runner. And I think this in turn makes me like a very strong female figure or a very strong female role model for the kids. And because I have 2 girls, I think that fuel the passion to want to do this well, because then they will see mommy has a goal, mommy has a dream, and she doesn't fear about doing this kind of stuff despite her age or her gender. Yeah. I always tell them that, I'm doing well, let's say in ultra running. And I think, the good thing about girls is that we tend to do better for ultras.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
don't know
I
why.
was actually gonna
Yes.
mention that when you were talking about ultras and your strategies, and I do think it's
Yes.
very true. Like you say, we start slowly, and we always just seem to be more consistent. Sorry, guys,
Yes.
but like
Yes.
Men do tend to have a bigger ego, and like you say, they go out too fast, they get burnt out.
Yes.
Whereas, you go out and you just have a plan and you just kind of go slowly along, but you just keep going. And I know I'm sure it's the same for you, Veronica. Like guys must pass you a lot at the beginning, but then actually you end up beating all of them, and it's because you've just kept going consistently.
Yeah, it's true. The guys, they race from the very first second. But I have to say, I struggle a bit with sticking to my race pace. Like I kind of get sucked into it. But then I kind of slow down. I'm like, okay, this is not like a 5K race, especially for the long ones. And it's true, later on, we always catch up and, pass them. And actually, that makes you feel super good because you might be already tired, but then you pass this guy and that guy or girl, and then it kind of gives you extra energy. So
Yes, it does. Yeah. And I think we use that to kind of give us additional boost, right? That's how we get our second win and third win. And it's always nice to know, oh, I look fresher than him.
Yeah.
I mean, just all trying to look fresher than him, it's all in the mind, right? Yeah. So I absolutely love the ultra game. I just think like to represent Singapore, obviously the longest distance is marathon. At least we don't recognize ultra races yet. So that was the only way I could represent Singapore. And I think, 42, but I would assume that my best races would be the longer distances. The longer it is, the better it is. For me, at least that's how I'm self-aware, knowing that my body could probably outlast more people when the distance gets longer. And I also think that is all mental.
Yeah.
And for us to have that mental, it's very, very strong. It's very, very important, sorry. And to have strong mental strength is crucial.
Yeah.
And it would help, I guess, if you're a mom, because, the kind of stress we're under with the kids and stuff. So I always think that, female, we are amazing. I mean, I just got to say this, like we are amazing. Just how much we're taking in every day from kids, from work, from family, all the stress that's coming in, and then we can channel it positively into this hobby that we're doing. Is great.
Jasmine, thank you so much. You are a true inspiration to your kids and everyone, and I'm sure you will motivate and inspire
Yes, I am.
a lot of people. And you've definitely inspired me. Like I'm definitely eager to do an event like this. What about you, Veronica? I'm interested. Like, can you ever see yourself doing like a big backyard?
I don't know. I'm just so in love with trails. I don't know if I could last that long on the road, but maybe, there are different courses in different countries. So maybe if there is one where you actually run on trail, then I would consider yes. But I cannot see myself on the road for as long as you were out there on the road. It's really crazy.
Right. And I think I don't know, it just helped knowing that you are going to come back and see familiar faces, right? And also throughout the loop, there were so many people. There were runners, because, East Coast Park, if you have been here, it's just lots of runners and cyclists. Sometimes you hear your name and you're like, oops, okay, there's people looking out for me. So, you've got to like keep the form and stuff like that. So I've got runners there supporting as well, just cheering and just knowing that they're out there waiting for me. You just want to go out there and say hi to them. So I think, yeah, that helped.
Yeah, that's amazing. Veronica, do you have any further questions or anything you want to add?
No, I think this was amazing. Really, thank you so much. I can wait for your next backyard ultra, and I'll definitely be watching you.
Yeah. Before I go, I just want to share like my favorite quote of all time. It's from Marianne Williamson. I'm not sure if you heard of her, but I love her quote, and I think every female should know this. So she says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us." And I just want all the ladies who are listening in to be fearless and go shine, because when you shine, then, whether it's a male or a female or your children or your friends, and they get inspired by your light, I think that's how we change the world.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. That's lovely. And I love the quote too. And I think it's such an important message. And really, you have been so inspiring, and congratulations. Like, what a feat. And like Veronica said, I'm so excited and also scared for all the participants against you for the next one. But thank you so much. It's been lovely having you on.
Thank you. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Hani.